I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delighted to welcome to our show a very talented author. His name is Jeffery S. Wilson. He's also known as J.S. Wilson, and he's written a wonderful book. It is called 100 Honeymoons, a novel. This captivating narrative unfolds like a small-town soap opera centering on the lives of two teenagers, Todd and Sally. Set against a backdrop of hormonal turmoil and maturation, the story navigates through their individual experiences, and it is quite a tale that Jeffery tells indeed. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Bookside Press for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Jeffery, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me. I've looked forward to this for a long time. I've read your own resume. I know you're a very qualified guy, so I'm happy to do it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy to have you because you're certainly a very qualified author. You've written a very inspired novel. Tell us a little bit about the story behind 100 Honeymoons and how it all came to you, this story.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of really wild kids, especially the girls in my neighborhood. And I wasn't myself very mature, but they were. And they got pretty much pilloried, and boys too, for being wild.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, I realized they all ended up be good people and had good lives and everything, and were not deserving of all of the publicity they got for their wild behavior as young people. And then about the mid-90s, I decided this was a good tale for a book. And that story in a real town with real people in real places was the way to tell a story. And I met another author back then who said, if you're going to write about what you know. So I wrote this in, most of the books takes place in San Luis Obispo, California. Every street, every venue, every bar, every beach, every street is real. You can walk this story if you want. And I began to write, and I wrote for about 2 years about two young people who meet there. They're both in high school and are very ambitious, one in sports and the other one is a cheerleader, the girl. And adults come along, as they really did, and exploited them for sex and for money. And the story of how they get drawn into this willingly, they didn't go, this wasn't something they were beaten into, and what happens to them and how they are overcome these things, and in some cases they don't, and all the you might say wild characters they meet along the way. Part of the book is set in Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, where Todd goes, and part of it is set in other venues around America where he's in training. Sally ends up in the same area all the time, and how they come back together and overcome these difficulties. As I've at the beginning of the book, I've said a quote from A.J. Strindberg, which is, women are predators too. It's just the prey is different. And I themed that way, and that my book got an award for the best villain, Mrs. V. That's one I'm most proud of. And also I got an award for the best romance novel of 2021, which was a nice award. That's kind of an outline for it. It takes place between about 1960 and the end of the Vietnam War, so it goes back a ways. But you can follow this all. If you were in the town, you could walk the streets and see this story.
Yeah. And that's a great era to set this story in. It was a time of change, a time of revolution, the sexual revolution, that's for sure. And also it was a complex time, yet a simple time, compared to 2023, for example, and what teenagers have to deal with nowadays. Do you think your characters, Todd and Sally, would work well on the big screen? Have you thought about this story as a movie, perhaps?
Yes, I have. And I actually interviewed in Los Angeles the end of last year with 15 movie producers about turning it into a movie. None of them took me up on it, although I got 4 good reviews, 4 bad ones,
Hmm.
and the rest in between, which is I told what to expect. Nobody's taken me up on it yet, but at least I got an interview to see if it would
Yeah.
happen. And they were, they asked me, well, who would be who? And I gone, along with that.
Yeah. Well, 15 is a good number, and it takes a lot of no's in this business before you get to a yes. That's for sure. In fact, if you thrive on rejection, then you're in the right business when it comes to making movies and all that stuff. You got to
you've hit
develop a thick
the
skin.
you've hit the nail on the head, Crawford.
Absolutely.
Thrive
Absolutely.
on the rejection.
Yeah, absolutely. The story also touches upon themes of exploitation and corruption. What do you hope that the readers take away from the story?
That people can grow up wild, make big mistakes, and still come out okay. For instance, Sally wants to be a cheerleader. Well,
Mhm.
to be popular, she'll do anything. Well, a cheerleader coach takes advantage of her
Mm.
financially and sexually to get her to do that. This Mrs. V is the culprit in that, and gradually coaxes her and her friends to do things that they shouldn't be doing, even as teenagers, young teenagers. Okay, the second part is Todd. He works on a ranch in the summer. His mother is in the army, so he gets farmed out to relatives to go to school because he can't go to Germany and Japan and everything with his mom. He works on a ranch. Well, the ranch woman on this thing is a beautiful ex-rodeo queen, and she's isolated out in the Carrizo Plain east of San Luis Obispo. And this is a real manly young guy, even though he's only 17. And he's real nice to her and gives her flowers and compliments her, and she helps him with his homework and everything. And she falls for him, even though she knows this is wrong. And they fall in love, and how he's trapped into that, and how she falls victim to her own weakness. She's lonely. She's not
Mm.
loved. She's got a husband that abuses her, and then she takes up with this young man, not out of malice, but out of her own uh, want to express herself, her love.
Mm.
And she's my favorite story and person in the book, in that she's got a multifaceted personality. She's beautiful. She's rich. She has everything except she's just so lonely. It just overcomes her. And how that molds Todd's life. And at the same time, Sally's being exploited, and they're both having a lot of extracurricular activities with girls and men and so forth.
Yeah.
And I know that's true because I knew the people in it. All the stories, characters I've known. One of them I haven't known, but I heard firsthand. But I've known all these people, the good ones and the bad ones in my life. Some in Europe, some in California, some in Alaska. Um, they're all real. So I think that's what I wrote about. I tried to make them as real to who I knew of them as I could. Uh,
Absolutely.
and the town is San Luis Obispo, California, is a wonderful place. I went to college there. Just 330 days a year of sunshine. It's the beach. I
Yeah.
got an incredible good architectural education. In fact, I couldn't have gotten a better education for any amount of money anywhere in the world than I got there.
Yeah, sounds like a gorgeous place and perfect setting for a story like this, small town America. And it's idyllic on one level. You scratch the surface, it's less than ideal. And that's what makes it very, very interesting. And all of these characters you say are people you met in your life or composites of people you met in your life. And of course, as we like to say, the names have been changed to protect the innocent
Absolutely
and
right.
the not so innocent.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good description, Crawford.
Thank you so much. Are you working on a sequel to Todd and Sally's Tale by any chance, like 101 Honeymoons or something like
Uh,
that?
yes, I am. But I mean, it took me 25 years to write this one. I'm not going to be able to crowd that into my life to come. But yeah, I am working on another one that's yeah, a sequel kind of.
Awesome.
I've been told that that's the way to make more money is to follow up your characters.
Yeah.
So I've tried to fold them into the next episodes of the book and featuring the same people. Like one of Sally's really wild friends is Brenda, and how Brenda becomes a willing participant in all this is a big part of the story. But she doesn't have to be persuaded. She wants to be in the story. That's the basis of it.
Wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, great book for you to enjoy out there, folks. It's written by J.S. Wilson. It is called 100 Honeymoons, a novel. It's a captivating tale that is sort of like a small town soap opera, and it centers on the lives of two teens, Todd and Sally, and the wild adventures that await them and their friends and the circle that they associate with. Quite a story. I think you'll enjoy it. It's set back in a wonderful era from the 1960s to the 1970s. It's a time long ago, but not that long ago. It is still very relatable and kind of much more inspiring and imaginative than the times are today. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very, very much for having me, and I enjoyed your way of interviewing.
Well, I appreciate that, sir, and I appreciate your time, and I enjoyed our talk as well. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.